The Sikha we will be learning is in the Sikha's Chedek Chavov, the second Sikha, Parshas Yisro. In Parshas Yisro we learn about Matan Torah, that after the Eden went on to Mitzrayim, they crossed the Yam Suf, so then they came to Har Sinai, and they said Aseres Adibus. And they call it the Ten Commandments. And it started with the words, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, Asher Tzitzicha Meretz Mitzrayim Ve'Savodim. I am Hashem, your God, that took you out of Mitzrayim, from the house of being slaves. Is Rashi maitig the Werte, Asher Tzitzicha Meretz Mitzrayim? So Rashi quotes from the Pasuk, the words, Asher Tzitzicha Meretz Mitzrayim. The Pasuk has more words. The Pasuk has the words, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, then the words, Asher Tzitzicha Meretz Mitzrayim, then Rabbi Savodim. But Rashi only quotes those words, Asher Tzitzicha Meretz Mitzrayim, when it's Mefarish. And Rashi explains it like this: that the fact that I took you out makes it that I deserve that you should be Meshubah to me. You should be Meshubah, me subjugated. You should be completely given over to me. That's what the Pasuk says. And we know the klal that Rashi only quotes the words from the Pasuk that are important for his comment. Whether it's important to the kasha of the comment, important to the answer of the comment, but it's only those words. He doesn't bring any extra words. Rashi doesn't bring any extra words from the pasuk and not missing any words. And here Rashi only quotes the words Asher Tzitzicha Meretz Mitzrayim, and this is what he explains. That Kedai Ayitzor Shetim Mishabodim, the coming out, the taking out of Mitzrayim is Kedai, deserving that you should be subjugated to me, you should be given over to me. And then Rashi brings two other comments, two other interpretations, but that will discuss, the Rebbe will discuss it later in Sifrei. Now we know the rule that when Rashi comments on a posik, it's because there's something not clear in the posik. If there's a posik that everything makes sense and very simple, Rashi has nothing to say. And as we see, many psukim, Rashi has nothing to say because everything makes sense. So if Rashi does say something, it's because something was bothering Rashi. So every time we learn a comment at Rashi, we have to see what is bothering Rashi that he had to make this comment. So the Rebbe asks, what's hard in this posik? What's not understood in this posik? The Rashi has to come to him. It sounds like a simple posik. I am Hashem your God, took you out of Mitzrayim, etc. So what is the hardship here that Rashi has to explain? Zog dem Mizrachi noch Mefarshim. Mizrachi and other Mefarshim on the Berari, which is the Maram Prot, etc. say, the Shaila is, the question is like this. It seems from the posik that when Hashem said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, Hashem your God, it's almost like he's introducing himself. Who am I? I am Hashem. I am your God. Why am I your God? Because I took you out of Mitzrayim. So I'm your God. So the question that Rashi has, why does Hashem connect his godliness, his being your God, your boss, with the fact that they took you out of Mitzrayim? He said, I took you out of Mitzrayim. So when he says, I'm the God, he connects it because I took you out of Mitzrayim. Why didn't he say something better? Something greater. I'm the God. I'm your God because I took you out, because I created heaven and earth. That's more than you see in Mitzrayim. That meant that Rashi. So since this is not understood in the pasuk, so Rashi answered that why did he mention that I took you out of Mitzrayim? And since I took you out of Mitzrayim from being slaves there, so he acquired them that they should be subjugated to him. So in other words, what the answer is that Rashi is trying to tell us that it's not that Hashem is introducing himself. That's Hashem. Hashem is saying that I am your God because I took you out of Mitzrayim. Why is it that it is that you should be Meshubah to me because I took you out of Mitzrayim? That's what the pasuk says. The Pirish of the Rebbe says this pshat is not simple. The simple pshat, there's no place to beginning for the question why he doesn't mention I created heaven and earth. See, if the word Anochi Hashem Elokecha is an introduction who he is, and that's a good kasha. But the Rebbe says in Derech HaPshat, that's not what Hashem is doing. Hashem is not telling us who he is. For him, das kommt doch als Hemshech Tam of Anochi Hashem Elokecha. He's saying, I am Hashem, your God. Asher Tzitzicha. So this comes as a reason, when he says, I took you out of Mitzrayim, is a reason why I am your God. As Hashem is the God for Eden, Hashem is the God of the Eden. So if he's wanting to give a reason why I'm your God, he has to say something in connection to you, to the Eden. But the far sign indeed was he's saying, I'm your God, this means I'm specially your God. Has to be something special connection to the Eden. So that's why, what would be if he would say, I am the God who created the world? What's it got to do with Eden? It's for everybody. So he had to say, it's very simple why he had to say, I am your God who took you out of Mitzrayim. Und der Tam was mit Leibtus darf getem Eden, he's just trying to say why I'm specifically your God more than everybody else. So why does he big this idea that I took you out of Meretz Mitzrayim? Why Dafke that? He chooses. He's moving B'Pashta. It's also understood clearly. That's the redemption of the Eden who brought them to Har Sinai. So now that he's standing by Har Sinai and he wants to tell them that I am your God. So he's saying, I took you out of Mitzrayim. That's what he said. So what kind of kasha is there in the Pasuk? That why doesn't he say, I'm your God because I created heaven and earth? That's not a reason why I'm your God. And he's not trying to introduce himself to me. He's just trying to explain why he's your God. So then that's not the kasha to be. The shaila is noch starker. The question is stronger. According to their pshat, the pshat of the Rom, the Mizrahi, or that pshat, that he's trying to explain why what the pasuk means, that Rashi is trying to explain, that means that it's deserved that you should be Meshubah to me because I took you out of Mitzrayim. The way they learned the pshat, before it was a kasha, what is bothering Rashi, the way they explained, that's not clear. Now, what is the pshat that Rashi is telling us? The way they say, it's also not understood. The style is stronger. That Indian, as Yitzias Mitzrayim, is a tama for Hashem Lekecha. This idea that Yitzias Mitzrayim is the reason why I am Hashem your God. The signal nachar, in other words, Yitzias Mitzrayim is given to the Eden on onem and the Meibishtat Zelakah on Indinen. That Yitzias Mitzrayim, in other words, that Yitzias Mitzrayim was in order that the Eden should accept Hashem as God and serve Him, worship Him. Steht in Friya. It's written before, will come upon him many times before it's written already, this idea. Where do we see it? Gleich in Parsha Shmei steht right in the beginning of Shmeis. Not in the beginning of Shmeis, but right away in the beginning of Chumash Shmeis, in Parsha Shmeis, it says, Beitziach Chasson and Mitzrayim Tapten Selikim Anorazah. Hashem said to Moshe by the burning bush, but the snare. When you take the Eden out of Mitzrayim, they will serve God on this mountain. So he's connecting, going out in Mitzrayim to serving God on this mountain, which was Har Sinai. Alderos in honor from Parsha Veira, so in the beginning of Parsha Veira, he says, Loch and Amr Lupne Yisro, say to the Eden, etc. It says, yes, come Tachasivas Mitzrayim, I'll take you out from the load of Mitzrayim, and I'll take you out from Mitzrayim, and I'll take you my nation. And I will be your God. I will know that I'm Hashem your God, who's taking you out from the load of Mitzrayim. So here again we see he connects going out of Mitzrayim, that's why he is your God. Nochmer, even more than this, in our Parsha, Yisro itself, by the Achonis Matan Torah, parts where it talks about the preparation to Matan Torah, the preparation to what's happening here. State that says, the Eibishter said, you saw what I did to Mitzrayim, I took you on the wings of eagles, I brought you to me, therefore Shamei Tishma Bekei, listen to my voice, keep my covenant, and you'll be mine. Gay Kodesh will be a holy nation, etc., etc. So we see before many times with the Torah connects Yitzias Mitzrayim with keeping the Torah and Hashem being our God. It's not understood since the Pasuk said it many times. So if that needs an explanation, what's the connection between Yitzias Mitzrayim and being avodim to Hashem? And that's what Rashi is trying to explain, that it's Kedai, it's because of that. Rashi should have said something in the previous times. Whenever Rashi has something to explain, the thing is written a few times, Rashi explains it the first time it's written. Now, sometimes he repeats it again for some reason, but other times he doesn't. But it makes no sense to explain something when it's written a few times, the last time and not the first time. So here, if this idea of the way they say the pshat is that Rashi is trying to tell us that the Pasuk is saying that it's Kedai, I took you out of Mitzrayim, so you Kedai to be Meshubah to me. That's what the Rashi is trying to tell us is the pshat in the Pasuk. You should have said it in the previous times where the Torah connects Yitzias Mitzrayim to Hashem being our God. So that's kashas on the concept itself. First kasha was, what's the question of Rashi on the Pasuk according to that pshat? And the answer, the other thing is, why does he have to answer this? Why does the explanation that he gives is also not clear? Now Rashi, the Rebbe says, I'm Dokame de Yukim. Now he's going to ask small questions questions in the exact words of Rashi that he uses. In the land of Pashta, seine die Werte von Rashi, Shetim, Mishibodim, Li, the Rofteich, von Askola, Sakosa, Venech, Avay, When you learn simple, that the words of Rashi says that you shall be Mishubit to me, is the explanation of the beginning of the Pasuk, Onechi Hashem Alekecha. Onechi Hashem Alekecha means I am your God, means you Mishubit. Those words mean it. The Lashon Aroma now, the Lashon of Rabbi Mizrahi, Mishubodim Leib Yelekayim. That's why Onechi Hashem Alekecha. So Rashi says you'll be Mishubit to me, shall be your God. So a simple pshat is that when Rashi says that you're Meshubah to me, that's the meaning of the words Anei Hashem Alekecha. I am your God. That means you are Meshubah to me. Only them Pirish, and according to this pshat is Asher Etzisicha Meretz Mitzrayim, the time of Anei Hashem Alekecha. So it comes out that Anei Hashem Alekecha, I am your God. You should be Meshubah to me. And then there's a reason why should you be Meshubah to me. Asher Etzisicha Meretz Mitzrayim, because I took you out of Mitzrayim. Since he took us out of Mitzrayim, that's why we became a shubit. So the second part of the pasuk is a reason why the first part. Why am I your God? It means you belong to me. You have to serve me because I took you out of Mitzrayim. And then if I stay beside Parsha Shlach, similar in the end of Parsha Shlach, when you noch come up to many other pasuk that says, "Ani Hashem Alekecha Tzeissicha Eschem Hashem Alekecha Tzeissicha Eschem Eretz Mitzrayim Lismachem Lekim I am Hashem your God. I took you out of Mitzrayim to be your God." And Rashi says, what does it mean? Amanas came for this year. On this condition, I took you out, so you should be mine. I should be your God. So that's how we learn Pshat in the Posik. According to where we simple Pshat in the Posik, that the Hashem Alekecha means I am your God. In other words, you are under me. You have to serve me. You have to worship me because I took you out of Mitzrayim, and because of that, you have to be mine. And that's the Pshat in our Posik. It's not understood. Number one, according to this, when Rashi says that the idea is you should be Meshubah to me, is the meaning of the words Anei Hashem Alekecha. Why didn't Rashi quote from the pasuk Anei Hashem Alekecha also? As we said before, Rashi quotes from the pasuk every word that's important to his comment. Now, according to that pshat, like we just said, that Meshubadim Li that Rashi says is the meaning of Anei Hashem Alekecha. So Rashi should have quoted that too. Rashi should have said Anei Hashem Alekecha Mitzrayim, and then he would have written that the taking God of Mitzrayim is the reason why is Anei Hashem Alekecha. So why didn't he quote those words also? A second kash. Yeruba de Ruba from the Erde, wo Rashi sagt, dem Teichen. Sie ist Mitzrayim genannt zu dem Aziden sollen annehmen, dass sie dem Leibischen also gekommen. In most places where Rashi tells us this idea that Yitzias Mitzrayim was in order for the Eden to accept them upon themselves the Eibishter as a Lekim, as God. So usually the Russian of Rashi is Almanas came for this. Creates it. He says, I took you out of Mitzrayim on condition for the purpose of you being my God. I should be your God. But what's nutz do Rashi the motion kedai haitzor? Here Rashi is a different motion. Rashi says that it's kedai that the hitzor makes me deserve that you should be meshubit. He should have said very clear, like he says in other places. I took you out for this reason. That would make very simple sense of the pasuk. Third question. Rashi gedarf sorgen behesem loshna kosem nich Hashem alekecha. Rashi says, since the nich Hashem alekecha is the meaning of the words Meshubah, you are Meshubah to me is the meaning of the words Anei Hashem Alekecha. So why does Rashi say the Lashon the way he says you should be Meshubah to me? He should have said Kedai shetakabla lakusi. If it's the meaning of the words Anei Hashem Alekecha, the simplest words would have been that because I took you out of Mitzrayim, it's Kedai that you should be Makabla me as your God. That's the way the Lashon of the pasuk, or the Lashon Rashi Makamacha, or like Rashi says in a different place. Parshas Achrei should kabel malchusi. That's kedai. You should be makabel my malchus. Okay, yetz bezeh. But what's the Rashi mashana from Lashon HaKosher? Why does Rashi change from the Lashon of the pasuk? Muzak anai and Lashon. He says a new Lashon. It's not just a new Lashon, a new expression. It's a different Inyan. Shetim mishubodim li. Doesn't say that you should accept my lakus, because according to what we just said, what Rashi means when he says mishubodim means what the pasuk says Anei Hashem Alekecha. So you should have said, I took you out of Mitzrayim. Kedai is that therefore you should be makabel me as a lekecha. Why does he say a new Lashon? This last kasha you could answer. Rashi takes it out from the end of the pasuk. The end of the pasuk is I took you out mibeis avodi. Oh, so the pasuk uses here not a lekus, that I took you out to be a lekus. He said I took you out from beis avodi. Now, Bibalda der Eibishter had Eden ausgenommen from Beis Avodim. Since the Eibishter took the Eden out from being slaves, maybe it's Kedai, I saw it. Eden will not be Hashem. So maybe that's what he means. So it's Kedai, the Eden should be Avodim to Hashem. Lerech v'shteit Avodai heim, should say they are my slaves because I took them out of Mitzrayim. So B'meila, maybe Rashi uses not the word Elokus, but the word Shibut, which is like Avodim, because he wants to he used the end of the pasuk. Since you were avodim by Pare, I took you out from that being, now you're my avodim. And that's why he uses the word shibud, not the word, therefore you should be makabel my malchus. But as it can teretz maspi, this is not a good enough answer. Why? Because she's noch als nicht glatik loshon. The loshon of Rashi is still not simple. If he's following the loshon of the pasuk where it says you were avodim for Pare, now you're going to be my avodim, that's what they should have said. And I took you out of Mitzrayim, but kedai, you should be my avodim. But what is there? Meshana zokt mishubodim. Why did they find the new lashon and said mishubodim? The iker, and the main reason why we can't say that Rashi used the word mishubodim because of the end of the pasuk, the Beis Avodim. Besides, the lashon is not exactly the same, but there's a worse problem. In the Dibur Hamaschal is Rashi mighty blaze the ber Rashi tzichem eretz Mitzrayim. Unidem siva kosim Beis Avodim. In the words Rashi quotes from the pasuk, he only quotes the words Asher tzichem eretz Mitzrayim. Doesn't quote the word in Beis Avodim. It doesn't even hint to it by saying etc. It doesn't say that either. Is the form verständig, so we understand that the meaning from Kedaya Yisro should be Mishubodim. When Rashi says it's deserving that I took you out in order for you to Mishubot me, learn Rashi Arus not from the Beis Avodim. Rashi doesn't learn it out from the word in Beis Avodim. Why? Because as we said before, any word of the pasuk that's important to what Rashi says, Rashi quotes it in the Dibur Hamaschal, in the quote of the pasuk. He doesn't quote it. So obviously what he says has nothing to do with the word in Beis Avodim. So where does Rashi take out the Yim Shabodim? From the Verte, nor from the Verte Tzichem Eret Mitzrayim Guf. It must be since he quotes the word that Tzichem Eret Mitzrayim, and he says it means you should be Mishabodimli. So Mishabodimli has to do with the words Asher Tzichem Eret Mitzrayim. From those words Guf, from those words itself. As Rashi with Perusha Zok Kedai Atzo Estam Nitzei Tom Beis Avodim. More even than that, when Rashi says those words, that's Kedai De Hetzoah. So if he's referring to the words from Beis Avodim, Rashi should at least say it. Kedai hayetzoah me Beis Avodim. It's worth, or it's deserving that I took you out to Beis Avodim, so now you should be Meshubah to me. He doesn't even say that. He just said Kedai hayetzoah. So obviously it has nothing to do with Beis Avodim. There's nothing to do with Beis Avodim, so you can't say Rashi used the word Meshubodim because it fits to the further part of the pasuk. So first of all, it's not exact words anyway. So you can't say it means that. But besides that, he would have quoted those words before. So the question, why does he use a new concept of Mishubodim? Why does he write it? Shleimer Rabbi said, the Rebbe said, you can say the pshat is like this. The Shaila Nasher at going back to the beginning, what bothered Rashi? So the question Rashi has on these words, just on the words Asher is neat for boss. It's not like they say that the question is, why does the pasuk connect the fact that Anochi Hashem Elokecha is connected to because I took you out of Mitzrayim? That's not the question. Nor for care. The question is the opposite. My Komash Malon. Why does the Torah have to tell us? We know that on our own. We know that from before. Why would the Torah, the Eibishter, have to say that, explain that because I took you out of Mitzrayim, that's why you have to be Meshubah to me? That's simple. And the Rebbe explains why. Wie gesagt, as I said before, we said before that the Yidden already knew before that Matan Torah, which is Tavdinus Elokim, and David said, you will serve me on this mountain. That's the goal of Yitzias Mitzrayim. He said before, David said, Yitziach Mitzrayim, you take the, well, I'll take the Yidden out of Mitzrayim, you will serve me here. So we see the connection there. And noch mehr, even more than that, das hat der Rebbe geheißen, übergeben Yidden in der Chonetex im Matan Torah genau. When they days of preparation to Matan Torah, David said to them that same idea. He said, Atem Risim Asher Asisel Mitzrayim, you saw what I did to Mitzrayim. I carried you on the wings. I brought you to me. So listen, therefore, listen to my voice. Keep my covenant. You will be a kingdom of Kohanim and you'll be a holy nation. So we know from before that Matan Torah and being Meshubah to the Eibishter and having to listen to the Eibishter, we know already. The Balda says, since we know it, is Michael Mashmalom. Why does the Torah have to tell us? As a Neche Hashem Elokecha is the Yitzor from Tachlis when Yitziach Meres Mitzrayim. That the reason that David, I am your God. Why am I your God? Which means You have to know I'm your God. You have to know I'm your boss because I took you out of Mitzrayim. We know that from before. So it's not the kasha. What Rashi is explaining the connection. That one is dependent on the other. Kasha is the opposite. It's so obvious this connection that Rashi doesn't. The person doesn't understand. Rashi doesn't. The person doesn't understand. The Leib at Rashi. Therefore, Rashi learns Rashi. You need the tongue or the beat of Nechashem. The word that Shasichem at time is not a reason why Anech Hashem Alekecha. That we know from before. Because they took us out of Mitzrayim, we know already before. That's why He's our God, and we have to listen to Him. There's something new that these words teach us. And these are the words that Rashi says, that is deserving that I took you out of Mitzrayim, therefore you should be Meshubah to me. Hashem is that I'm your God, you have to listen to me. Now he says, he mentions another thing Rashi says. I took you out of Mitzrayim, so there's something else that happens here in these words. And the Rabbi will explain, Meshubadim li means you're completely given over to me. You completely under my jurisdiction, completely, 100%. Rabbi will explain. The first word is I am Shem your God means Kabbalah Malchus. I am Shem your God means except my kingship. Okay. As the Nemton the Meibishna shall accept the Eibishter as the ruler, as the king. Automatically, so automatically, if you take him as your boss, that includes that you will accept his mitzvahs, whatever he commands you to do. And the Rebbe says in order 25, even though we know that usually we can divide it into two, there's Kabbalah Seil Malchus, accepting the yoke of the kingship, and Kabbalah Seil mitzvahs, accepting the yoke of the mitzvahs. They're two separate things, but one comes as a result of the other, so it's automatic. If you accept Hashem as a melech, then automatically you will do the second thing, accept this mitzvah. So that's included in the Neich Hashem Alekecha. And then David added something else. As is need genug drin from Kabbalah's Malchus Shemayim, it's not enough to accept the kingdom of Hashem, was brings to Kabbalah's mitzvahs and forms, and Xerish which automatically will bring the accept the mitzvahs and do his decrees, what he commands you to do. Not even that sein Meshubadim, you have to be Meshubad. Meshubad means in Ganzen Meshubad, so maybe the word Meshubad means something new. As the Rabbi will explain, completely given over to Hashem. What is the difference between that and accepting the Malchus of Hashem? So he said, like Kabbalah's Malchus is Nikshelo Diprayat. When you accept Malchus of Hashem, it doesn't exclude the freedom that you have from your own private life. As a maintenance, all it means when the Malchus of Hashem means certain things, specific things Hashem, the king, tells you to do, fall from him. We listen to what he does. Say in doing positive to do what he wants you to do. And I won't do. Person won't do, but Hashem forbids him from doing. That's all including the Malchus. Well, so this is by a regular king. That's what happens when you accept the king. You know you have to listen to him. What he tells you to do, you have to do. What he tells you not to do. The same thing as the kings of kings, which is king of kings, which is Eibishter. As Kabbalah's Malchus accepting the Malchus, the yoke of the Melech, Hashem being our king, means Amanem turn of sich the Makaims and Allah mitzvahs take upon ourselves to keep all the commandments, all the decrees of the king. But Meshubadim remains. When you say Meshubad, means something else. As Aid is not self-steady. Aid is not independent. He's not an entity on his own. Hot need can he doesn't have any of his own personal freedom. As Meshubad Kol Kol he's completely under the jurisdiction, given over to Hashem. With everything that he has and he does is given over to Hashem. It's a different way. It's a different feeling that you have. The feeling whether you will do what he tells you, and as the Rebbe says, like then if there's time in between that he doesn't tell you, so then you're free. And Meshubadim means you're always under him. But it's not only what you think. In Ha'ara 27, the Rebbe says, Nafkamina b'peil. And there's a difference in actuality. Because there is such a thing as Parshas B'Teire Shemosam in Lavein Mekabel Peronius. Certain parts of the Torah you don't have to do. If you did it, you get schar. But if you don't do it, you won't be punished. No, it's not something you have to do. So, and the Rebbe brings an example. So if you are Meshubet, Mishtadel Akaimah. If you're Meshubet, you will do those also. If you're only an Eved, as it will say, you're only Mekabel the Malchus of David, you do everything he tells you. But everything, things that you don't have to, you won't be punished, you won't have to, you won't do it. But if you're Meshubet, you'll do that. And the Rebbe says, Eif Nachach says, is another way to say the difference. What he's telling us here is that by saying you're Meshubet, he's telling you that you should know The general idea of the 613 mitzvahs of the Torah, it's not like a decree from a human king. King Geder shall shibud. He's telling you, I'm going to give you mitzvahs, but the mitzvahs makes a shibud. When the king tells you what to do, tells you what to do on Sunday, Monday, and at this time, at that time, and all the things. But it's not every second of your life. But the Tayag mitzvahs is a shibud. Okay, Makifa says, Kol chayot, and that contains the whole life of a person. There's not a second empty that doesn't have a mitzvah. Everything in life that Torah has something to say about it. So that means you're completely given over to Hashem. When the father is Rashi Madayik, and that's what Rashi says, Rashi doesn't say, I took you out a condition that you'll accept my malchus, something like that. It's a different lotion. Kedai, it's deserving. That means like it's Losh Namanaz Dr. Rashi. But Rashi does use the Loshon that I took you out on condition that you will be my avodim, etc., etc. Rashi says it when the Posik stay in Tzvein Yonim, but saying it is at 9 Tzvein. And the Posik says two things, but one is the condition on the other. Come on, for instance, and Hashem Lekech Hashem says, I say, Eschem, Lies Lachem Lekim. I said myself, I took you out of Mitzrayim, you should be my God. So there are two things. I took you out of Mitzrayim. And then they say you should be your God. So then Rashi said, means a condition. I took you out of Mitzrayim, a condition that I will be your God. Shenke benitne number in our case was Tiyu Mishubodimli. When Rashi says what David meant, you should be Mishubad, like Rashi is not at night. It's not a condition why you took you out. Nor says the Pirishu Machub Masham there that is the meaning of the words I took you out of Mitzrayim. The Heitzoah is Kedai, the taking out itself, taking out of Mitzrayim is Kedai Troktes, it carries in itself the meaning of Mishubodimli. They carry in itself this idea that the Yidden are Meshubad to David. Meshubad. And that's Asher Tesich. I took you out. That means you are mine. You are not your own entity at all. And that's learned. That's what Rashi says on condition that you have to listen to me. I took you out on condition. You listen to me. That's Kabbalah's Malchus. This is the idea Kedaihi. That taking out itself expresses that you are completely mine. And this explains why Rashi Taki in the words he quotes from the pasuk, Dibra Masla, Rashi does not bring the end of the pasuk in Beis Avodi. When he's feeling it doesn't even hint it with saying etc. Why? Because Rashi Badafke wants this is not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Beis Avodi. The chiluk Moshe Mishabodim the Loshen Avdus Tamis. The difference when you say Mishabodim or you use the Loshen of Eved being an Eved, when it's written Stam, is there a difference? B'shas mizokt Eved Stam, when you say the word Eved, a servant, a slave, is noch nicht mutgish as man doesn't stress that you don't have any freedom. For Mafapi as an Eved is nit kamat in Tzislas. You know, we know an Eved, a slave, is not his own entity. He's the property of his master. Nit v'apel was tut b'is arbet v'zay b'alabos. Not like just a worker, an employee who just does works for his employer. So he's not a Metzias for himself. But still, where do you see this yoke he has as an Eved? Mainly the Shaykhs to the Arbet was to the Arbet was a tutvanot. It's really felt in when he works for his master. The Mele, if it only expresses itself when he works for his master. So therefore, so when you eat, so you sleep, etc., feel the need and then you don't really feel the yoke of the master. He says, "Can Zaina fall and the road and later the Arbet from Eved?" Could be a case where at the point where the master doesn't need the work of his slave, and the Eved could rest. Now, the truth is, Rebbe is in order 30. Even though Mashikon Eved Kon Rabbi, what the Eved acquires belongs to his master. But still, there is a feeling that he has his own, he can rest. And he's not obligated to work, what to do for his master. The word Mishabodim stresses that Shibud Eved Ladeni in an meaning. It says you're giving yourself over to the master, that you have a constant yoke. You feel that every second. Just like we say by money, we say that certain person, that certain shibud on certain money. Like if I owe somebody money, all my property, it says the Lashon Gemara is meshubed to my loan, to my debt. What does that mean? At the moment that meshubed gebunden zum balchev, the money is tied to the one I owe the money. So every second, this is connected to the balchev, to the person I owe the money. So here also, we say Ayid is meshubed to the Eibishter, means he is constantly. He's one with it. He's nothing else besides being connected to Eibishter. In all of us are two filtered and whatever you do, you feel them. yoke of the master. Because I feel in this money when the rotten get in the canal, but even at the time when his master doesn't give him any word, feel the rotten sein Metzias as he's Meshubet to the. I mean the Eved. So the Eved feels his Metzias, it's Meshubet. That's if you're Meshubet. You're an Eved, but not in the Stam Eved. You're Eved that's Meshubet. Und das ist der Dirk Loshen Rashi Shati Mishabodim Nit Shati Avodah case. That's why Rashi doesn't say that Kedai I saw you should be my Avodah. He says you should be Meshubet to me. Because das was Matan Teira Tuvgiton Aziden seinen geworden ab Hashem Stam, this that Matan Teira caused. That they even become the Avodim of Hashem, the slaves of Hashem Stam, which means they will listen to everything Hashem does. That's not connected to the Posek Hashem. That's part of the Hashem. I am your God. I'm your God. You have to listen. You means accept me as your God. You have to listen. Ibal das Reibishter is unser Shalit Melech. Since Reibishter is our ruler, our king, by lying and eating some Reibishter, we belong to him. Like the Posek says, I'm taking out of Mitzrayim. I'll take you from my nation. But you said, look, I'm looking, but your God. So that makes that you must listen to him like a slave to his master. The next words, in addition to the words, by adding, I took you out of Mitzrayim, then there's another union. I took you out. That taking out deserves that you should be Meshubet. That means like this. The condition for Yitzias Mitzrayim is that he even become his nation. That's all. But you're my nation, like by a king, a regular king. The nation are avodim to him, they belong to him. But in this case, is over Kedai Yitzor from Eretz Mitzrayim. I took you out of Mitzrayim. Remember where I took you from. I took you from Mitzrayim. That deserves that you should be Meshubah. Because I took you from Mitzrayim. Why? What does it got to do with taking out of Mitzrayim? Yes, as Eden seine given Baptist in Eretz Mitzrayim. Since Eden were avodim in the land of Mitzrayim. Was dort seine sie given nicht Stam avodim, Beis avodim. In Mitzrayim, they were not just plain slaves. And that would be the Beis avodim. I took you out from being slaves, from the house of slaves. In Mitzrayim, they were Meshubodim. Avedas Perer. It never doesn't work. Avedas Per, hard labor. When they made them work hard labor, is meaning it took over their whole Metzias. The Pasuk says that it's hard. More than any limitations. He made them work so hard. So I took you out from being Shubit to Mitzrayim. This taking out of Eretz Mitzrayim, which means taking out from being Meshubit to Mitzrayim, deserves Shetiyu, not Stam Avodim, that you should be not Stam Avodim, but you should be Meshubit. And in order 28, the Rebbe said that not always is the word Shibud means exactly what we're saying here. Sometimes the word Shibud doesn't mean that. It means like I'm being an Eved is Meshubit. But the Rebbe is saying here, when we see a problem, when Rashi changes the Lashon, doesn't use the Lashon of the Pasuk, and changes it, then Rashi means something. So that's why Rashi, if Stamazay, the Pasuk wouldn't mention Beis Avodim or anything, Rashi says the word Meshubah, we would think it means Eved. But since Rashi Bedavke did not use the word Eved, which is the Lashon of the Pasuk, and Bedavke used the word Meshubadim, that's the proteus, that when we make differences and the Rashi changes from the word that Rebbe says here, then the word Shibud means something else, means something much stronger than being an Eved. And that's what the words Rashi is. He's saying is, so that's how we say the pshat. Nech Hashem Elokecha means I'm your God. I'm your God, you're my avodim. But I took you out of Mitzrayim for what kind of thing of Shibud to Mitzrayim? So obviously it's Kedai. It's not Almanas. The condition I took you out to be my avodim. But it's Kedai that since you're exchanging, I took you out, exchange it from being Meshubah to Pare, so therefore it makes sense that you should be Meshubah. So Rashi doesn't say it's a condition. The condition that's a must, that's a condition from the words of Nech Hashem Elokecha. So I took you out of Mitzrayim for it. But here when the Torah adds the words I took you out of Mitzrayim, and that's something we know from before that being accepting David is connected to Mitzrayim. So why does it repeat the Torah again? Must be telling you something new. So Rashi says it's telling you that you should be Meshubah. Now the Rebbe thing, like Beer and Rashi, according to this explanation in Rashi, as I should say, is not a time of Nech Hashem Elokecha that when it says I took you out of Mitzrayim is not a reason why why I should be your God. But it's a separate union, a new union that Pasuk is saying. But in Verstehen, that will explain will understand why after Rashi explained the whole thing that we're saying that Kedai I saw that is deserving took you out to be Meshubit. Rashi brings two more pshatim here. Why Davish is in Nechashim? We'll understand why. And we know usually when Rashi brings more than one or more than one interpretation on a word of the Pasuk or on the Pasuk, there must be a reason. That the other one that we just said is not good enough, there's some problem with it, so Rashi has to bring another pshat. Same thing, Rashi brings two more pshatim, so we understand. Well, so why does he do it? So now, based on what we said before, we understand. This is what Rashi said. Another pshat, what Eibush meant to the Meich Hashem Lekecha. The fish and Nikla Bayom Kegibber Mochama. Since by the Yamsuf, the Eibush there was revealed, he looked like a soldier, like a strong warrior. But here, by Matan Torah, he revealed himself like an old man that's full of pity. Shnemer, like it says, the Tachas Raglok. They saw Ma'aseh B'Tnes Hasapir, but it means that he didn't look like a soldier. So since that's what happened, so Eibush said, since I've changed in my looks, I'll tell you. So don't say in there are two domains. So David was afraid. He even was it's two gods, two domains. We saw a different one. We saw by Kriyas Yamsuf a different one. So therefore, so David said, no, I'm the same one. In Mitzrayim, I took you out of Mitzrayim, and I was in. That's why he said Nechashim. Another shot. Since it says that the voice of Hashem by Matan Torah came from all sides of the world and from up and down, from heaven and earth. Al Tamer, so you shouldn't say the Shui's Harben. If it came from many places, looks like there are many gods saying the Torah. So there's more than one God. There's many domains. And so therefore, I'm the only God. When the Noach is Rashi Masayim, then Rashi finishes. So, why did it say singular Elikecha? Why didn't he say Elikechem? He was speaking to a lot of people. Rabbi, he should have said plural. The answer is Liken Pischel said tell Moshe Lamas and the Geri Eagle to give a opportunity to Moshe that when Eden did the Eagle later, he would have like an excuse for the Eden. He could defend the Eden. What could he say? Since David said Loshen Yochid singular, he could tell David, it's not them that you said no, don't have other gods. To me, so they were able to do it. That's the next thing that Rashi says. And after the two Pirushim, he says that. It's not understood. Rashi is in a simple chat in the post. What's felt in the Mershkin Pirush was taken in an movement. What's missing? The first thing that the Rashi says, which is simple. The simple pshat is the way we said, Neich Hashem Lekecha means I took you out of Mitzrayim. I'm your God because I took you out of Mitzrayim. And then he adds another thing that you should be Meshubit. That makes sense. It's understood. Took you out of Mitzrayim. Now he's your God. He's your boss. And not only it's understood, I'll be seichel. In pshat, we have psukim that tell us before that. Now, like we said before, so what is wrong with this pshat was to them neitzik clash in the other Pirushim because I'm going by to pshat. Why does Rashi have to bring the other two pshatim? And they are far from simple pshat. And the Rebbe is going to explain they're far from simple pshat. Both together, there's one common denominator in both Pirushim that we just said that is not simple pshat. And then the Rebbe is going to go in every single one of the two on its own is not simple pshat. So he says like this. Head mitzateichen akloli for the general teichen, so in the context of what these two Pirushim say, I'm a gidar, but what in the meaning from our Torah, Hashtei Rishu, he said, never shoot, they have to make sure you don't make a mistake that there are two domains, according to the first of the two, or the many domains because the voice gave more size. You have to make sure that you don't think so. How can you say that in Pshat? Wie passt es on? How does it fit to say, as noch ein Sehen, down in Mitzrayim, all you have to eat, so all the miracles in Mitzrayim, all the miracles in Yamsuf. Standing by my man Sinai, standing by Sinai, and in Hora 39, Rebbe brings for Rashi and Vaschanan, that Leib gave the Torah, he opened up all the heavens. They saw that he's the only one. So after all that, so when there's Darfim Bavorim and Eden from the Torah, and you have to make sure you don't make the mistake that there's more than one God. At this point, I feel it does because even though he gives a reason why they think, because you see different forms. Before he looked like a soldier, now he looks like an old man. It's not enough reason why people would make such a mistake. It's very obvious. And we see it by a human being. The face, certainly the face, maybe other parts of the body too, but certainly the face changes depending on what you're doing. Sie nicht gleich der Marapon von einem Beschass Fit am Mohammed. So themselves Mensch, when there is also going to pull of Kesverachim, the face doesn't look the same. The expression of the face doesn't look the same when you're fighting a war, and the same person when he's involved in doing kindness, having pity. It's a different face. So B'meila, why would that be a reason that Yidden should think there's more than one? Because he looks different. It's normal to look different because they're doing different things. Before he was fighting a war, now he's in Matan Torah. Certainly, the second thing that you have to make sure that you don't make a mistake and think there's many domains. Why? Because the voice came from many sides. Why would they think that there's more than one? How could they think it's more than one? Something. If all sides said the same thing, why would we think it's more than one? And the second thing is the main thing is Teichnon. What did both sides say? I'm your God, don't have any other gods. So the voice that they heard was saying there's only one God. So how could they make a mistake because of that? Because it came from all sides that there's more than one God. So that's a problem in the general idea that these two pshatim are saying that why did it say make sure that they don't think of more than one God, whether it's because changed the form or whether it's because they heard different voice. But that's hard. So in Derech Hapshat to say that that's why you had to say Anechi, they shouldn't make that mistake is hard. That's for both together a problem. Each one of the two, there is a hardship to accept it in Derech Hapshat. In the Mershon Pirush is Nitlum, the first Pshat is not understood. What's the first Pshat? At first it was Nigla, Kan Kizokim Balarach. Before it was Nigla, he revealed himself as a soldier, a warrior. Now he's like a Zokim. When was the first point that the Eibush revealed himself at Matan Torah? He's like Pirush Rashi. According to Rashi, the Shegivem B'Chamishi B'Sim, this was on the 5th day of Sim, a day before Matan Torah. Al Kaponim HaMeshach Zman Eida the Eibush Raton gave Zog Naseres Adibus. Certainly a while, certainly a time before the Eibush came to Aseres Adibus when he said this at Mecha Shabbat. In Posik it says, in Pasha Mishpot, in the Posik says, Yiru as Elokei Yisro, they saw it was Nodav Meisha Ar Nodav Aviyu dying the 70 skein. So it says Hashem, and the way Rashi says a few psukim before this happened on Chamishi B'Siv, and there it says what he said, and then they said they saw. So Akopone for sure, Meisha Ar the skein Nodav Aviyu saw already the Eibishter, whatever it means, saw the Eibishter a day before, and he didn't look like a warrior then. So the Eibishter wants to make sure that you don't make a mistake that I'm a different one. But the Eibishter Glaiva is his Galusa, for them to us. So right away, the first revelation he made, he has to make sure, don't make the mistake, which is a mistake, be Ikre Amunah, in the foundation of our Amunah in Hashem, they shouldn't make a mistake of two domains. Why did he wait to the Aseres Adibus and he started the Aseres Adibus and he had to then tell you, you should know, don't make a mistake. So the problem of that they saw him differently, that's the problem would say that because of that, they'll think, if that's what he's trying to do, then he should have said it before. Like in Zweiten Pirish, according to the second shot, as their Ort van Toys, given to them Kelf the Aseres Adibus, that the reason they might make a mistake because the voice from the Aseres Adibus all sides is schwer, is hard to accept it. Rashi Alein is Mamsha. Rashi himself continues. Rashi says, as we quoted before, Rashi says, why did he say the Loshen Elikecha, which means singular, should have said Elikecha? So the Rebbe learns that's a kasha on the second shot, that it comes because of the voices. Why? Azay does concussion. Normally it says there's a kasha why Hashem spoke for Loshen Yoch is singular, not plural, not a kasha. We find many places Hashem speaks to the Eden, many Eden, all the Eden, and he speaks to them in the form in a singular tense. Certainly when it's Matan Torah, when by Yichasham Yisro Bishach B'Leib, the Rashi says that by Matan Torah they came already on the Shtei Sin. They were all like one person, they're all Ba'adas. So there's no problem why it says Lashon Yochid. That's how you speak to many people. But here, that the Kayla given must get that orthotos. So this shows Harben. He said that the Eibishter spoke from all sides of her, and that makes a place for a person to make a mistake that there's more than one. But then so Bedafke here, they shouldn't make a mistake. There's more than one. That's why they should speak Lashon Hara. Why? We need a Lashon Yochid, not a Lashon Yochid. Why? What's the difference? Because a Lashon Yochid is noch meis even in the Sinnas Makim B'Toas. If you speak each side, spoke with Lashon Yochid, gives them more place. People should think there's more than one. they would think, and this is the lotion of the Maskil Adov, he says, you would think as a Laka Echad Medaber Imish Echad, the Laka Echad Imishachach. They would think since each side says Losha Yochid, so each side is speaking to a different person. So one guy has one person has one God, the other person has another God. So if he's trying to make sure that you don't make that mistake, so why then comes this kasha? Why does he say Losha Yochid, which makes it even worse? So the Chura, that's a shining pshat. Why would this be a good pshat? That this is the reason why he said it, why David had to say it here to make sure, the second pshat, to make sure that he don't make a mistake with the border one. Rasha answered this kasha. When they be from Rasha, Litin Pisk Kelamesha Lamets and the good in Maisa Egala, this is Rasha says that he said it singular is in order Mesha should be able to be the defender of the Eden later on and tell him that he spoke to me, not to everybody else. The Chura Vait for Pash, that answer is far from simple pshat. The Meforshim pregnant my males and the good is it Meforshim asks how did this help, etc., etc. Never doesn't go into the details. They ask, so it's not so simple. So the bottom line is these two pirushim that Rasha brings. There's one that could in both. Common denominator is not hard clear to understand. Pshat. Then each one itself has a problem. So why did Rasha have to bring this? What was wrong with the simple pshat that he said? He's telling him, I am your God because I took you out of Mitzvah. And now it's very not clear. To bring it, why does Rashi have to add and bring these two pshat? The analogy is this moving b'pashtas based on the whole explanation we gave before that there are two yonim. Like Neshman Pishon Rashi, according to first pshat in Rashi, the pasuk is not telling I took you out of Mitzrayim, and therefore it was not saying because I took you out of Mitzrayim. We said before, no, they're two separate things. I took you out of Mitzrayim to teach you something else. He's not latik the hemshech. The problem with that pshat is the hemshech, the continuation of the words of the Lashon Necha Hashem Alekecha, Asher Eitzisicha Meret Mitzrayim, I am your God. That took you out of Mitzrayim. What does the word Asher mean? That. Bechlal weiß der Lashon Asher if a hemshech to them Asher is always a continuation. We said before. When Nita Isof is Dover Chodesh Legamre, not to tell us something new completely. So the first pshat is a very interesting pshat, a good pshat, but there's something missing. It doesn't really fit to the words Asher. Necha Hashem Asher, because he should have Necha Hashem Alekecha. And should have said separate to teach you two things. The first one is that you're Kabbalah the Malchus, the second one that you're Meshubet, but not the word Asher. I bring Rasha down to the Perushim. That's where Rasha brings the other two pshatim. Was late Zay is glotting the Hemshech Rosh Nakosri. According to them, the Hemshech, the wording is better. The Rasha is Matis, like Rasha says, as late in Sveitim, but there is late in Vidin Pirush. And according to the second and third pshat, is the Taichin Posik on Nechi, who Asher is the Asher means goes stuck together. I am the same one that took you out. Don't think there's more than one. So because the first shot is, as we said, two separate, that has a problem. When Asher has a problem with one shot, he always brings other shot. Now, when he brings three shot, and here Asher brings two more shot, because each one itself also has a problem. And the Rebbe doesn't repeat it, but before, the way he explained the problems in each shot tells you that each shot has a problem. That's why the first shot is not enough, as he says now, the problem with Asher. The first shot is a problem. As he said before, that if he's telling that because he saw me in a different shape, that's why you might think. So why didn't the Abisha say this before the first time he revealed something? This is the day before. The third shot itself is also not enough. That the Rebbe says, what is it not enough? Because then why does it say Lashon Yochid? If the problem is that they might think there's more than one God because it comes from our sides, so Bedafka should not have said Lashon Yochid. Rashi answered it, but it's not so simple. Now we understand why he needs option. Simon Pirish Rashi Velomar Lashon Yochid comments and good in my segel. The Rebbe goes on one prat from the end of Rashi that why did they say Lashon Yochid to teach Moshe Rabbeinu should be able to have he should be able to become the one that should find a limud spus. He should have a defense for the Eden when they did the Egel. Is do ahiro and the floor people the other needs chaver. There's a great lesson here how much every Yid is beloved by Hashem. The Retzach wegen Eden Babel has gefällt nicht bloß Zakir Mishabotim. We're telling the Eden that you should be. What should you be? What does the pasuk say? We're telling Eden you should be Avod my Avod. I'm your God. Accept me as your God. And then the Rashi says, and he's telling even more. Should be Mishubatim. But it means he's telling people who are not Mishubat yet. Because I'm gehalten, but them say people who it's not the Eibusher telling them they wouldn't be that. Not only they wouldn't be Mishubat, they would be the complete opposite. From the Hashem Alekecha. He's telling you, I am your God. In other words, we're talking people that otherwise they might not even be accepting David as a God. Because of such Eden, because of to defend these Eden, they're fairly low Eden. The Abish said, when? By Matan Torah. And that is for all generations said. And all that he changed and made this whole thing, that Moshe should be able to defend such type of Eden who are pretty low. Noch mehr, go further. The Pischem Peh is verbunden damit, was Tos is Meisiv, and the Messinas Makam the Tos, that Yeshua is hard to know. This allegoria that Moshe, Abish said the Loshen Yochid, is in order for Moshe to be able to defend the Eden. It's interesting. It came through saying Loshen Yochid, which we said before is a problem. That could add for people to make a mistake. But there is more, because he said Loshen Yochid, you might think he's speaking to each God was speaking to somebody else. But nevertheless, David said Loshen Yochid. And the defense is not so strong either, like we said before, the Meforshim asked. How is this a defense? As the Meforshim say. And Afal Pekein Zog the Rebbe said it's worthwhile. In other words, the defense is a schwache defense. Because it's the way the Meforshim say. Also, the defense, the lotion that he's using for a defense itself is a problem. Because it makes more possibility for even to think there's more than one God. Nevertheless, the Abish says it's worthwhile. That by saying that lotion, maybe this will be a defense on the Eden. On which kind of Eden? Such an Eden like this. After all, we said before, by saying Loshen Yochid makes more possible a mistake. He's say, but it's a little see. The David wrote, he has to write what he has to write, and if someone makes a mistake, that's his problem. And this is a lotion that's written in Medrash. That when David told Moshe to write the words Nasod and Breshis, let us make man, Moshe said to David, how could I write let us make? I'll think that there's more than one God. So David said, you write what I tell you. But it's a little see, everyone wants to make a mistake, I'll make a mistake. And there's a whole beer that the Rebbe gives, it's not in gay here. Same thing here, the Rebbe had to do what he has to do. But what did he have to do? Give a possibility for finding a defense for Eden, this type of Eden. Even though there's a lot of problems with it, as long as there's a possibility that this will be a defense. And the lesson is understood for every one of us. So we have to get involved in being the Karev every single year. Can't make a calculation. As with them Eden is gedeiht zu abgeben sich. With this Eid, it's worthwhile to get involved. By schenken mit der zweiten with somebody else, it's not good. But one the Torah tells us as gleich im ersten Dibur from the Aseres Adibris, the first beginning of the Aseres Adibris. Aseres Adibris is a special category in the it's not like any other posik. And the beginning, how the Rebbe that reingegeben a Pischem Peh, the Rebbe put in an excuse, a possible excuse. Von Kennen gefunden alim es Chus auf Eden to find a defense for Eden, was wird nicht so werden bei Mais Chmon will sagen Mais Eden, which will Chmon will sagen do the way of the Egel. Heper dem Dibur as when ich Hashem like do something against this Dibur. And nevertheless, the Abish to make sure that there is a defense. Certainly this generation, in our generation, most of the people that in Makarev are like like if you have a little baby that's captured by Goyim and raised them on Goyim, could you blame him why he doesn't keep mitzvah? Why he doesn't know any better? All the Eden nowadays are like that. So we have to find ways how to reach every single need. All the Eden. So our Father in heaven, that puts together the great nation, and this is a lotion that says when the coming of Mashiach that there'll be a call Godel was that gay lekabel pnei Mashiach that came to the Veda b'nei mamish. There'll be a whole call that'll go greet Mashiach, and this call Godel is made. It should be made up of all the Eden, even those Eden are far, because we'll be machar each one of the Eden. Then we'll be able to take everybody and greet Mashiach.